Emma couldn't get pregnant. For 2 years, she and her husband Ethan had been trying to start a family. They had undergone medical tests, visited specialists. Everything was fine with Ethan. She had no major health issues either. Their age was ideal. He was 25, she was 22. But doctors kept shrugging and saying the same thing. Just keep trying. It might happen naturally. Emma was tired of hearing the same response over and over. She had tried everything, but nothing worked. Then one day, a colleague at work suggested something unusual. Go see a healer. She's helped a lot of people. That evening, Emma told Ethan about it. They sat down and discussed it over dinner. Why not try? What did they have to lose? It was only a little over an hour's drive to a tiny, almost forgotten town. They left right after work. By the time they arrived, the sun had already set. The town was as small as it had sounded, maybe 50 houses all scattered far apart. The locals weren't surprised by their question and quickly gave directions to the healer's house. Naturally, it was on the very outskirts of town. Emma stepped out of the car and walked toward a small, unfenced house. An elderly woman sat on an old wooden bench outside. "Good evening," Emma greeted loudly. The old woman took her time responding. She studied Emma carefully, smacked her lips, and slowly got up. "Well, hello there, child. You want this badly, don't you?" Emma was about to ask how the woman knew, but the old lady just smirked. "I just know. You wouldn't have come here otherwise, would you? Well, come on inside." She shuffled toward the house, motioning Emma to follow. "And your husband should wait in the car. Don't worry, I won't eat you." She let out a raspy chuckle. Emma glanced at Ethan, gave him a reassuring wave, then followed the woman inside. The air inside was thick with the scent of dried herbs. The old woman rummaged through a cabinet before leading Emma into a small room. "Sit." Emma sat on a wooden stool, facing a wall covered in religious icons. The woman began pacing around her, mumbling something under her breath. 2 years and still nothing, she finally said. "Your body is fine. Your husband's too." "Yes, we've been to doctors." "I know." The woman frowned. "But this isn't something that can be fixed with prayers or kind words." Emma's stomach tightened. "What do you mean?" "It's not meant to be." Emma's breath caught in her throat. "So, there's nothing I can do?" The woman let out a raspy sigh. "There is, but not in the usual way." A chill ran down Emma's spine. "What do you mean?" The old woman smacked her lips. "There are light ways, and dark ones." Emma hesitated. "And the dark way?" The woman grimaced. "I don't like using dark methods, but if you really want this—" "I'll pay," Emma blurted out. "I don't ask for money." The old woman studied her carefully. "But if you feel like giving something in return, that's up to you. That's how it works." Emma swallowed hard. "I'll do whatever it takes." The woman lifted a warning finger. "Not a word to anyone, especially your husband. If you tell, it won't work. Or worse, something bad might happen." Emma nodded quickly. The woman sighed. "All right then. Follow me." "We can't do this in here. It's not right. Not in front of the icons." Emma hesitated only for a second before stepping outside. The night air felt cold against her skin. The old woman led her through the yard, down a narrow, overgrown path. At the end stood a small, low door. "Go inside." Emma stepped in. The air was thick, almost suffocating. It was nothing like the rest of the house. There were no windows. Bundles of dried herbs hung from the ceiling. Rows of glass jars filled with unknown substances lined the shelves. In the corner, an old wooden chest sat covered in furs. The woman turned to her. "Are you sure about this, child?" Emma took a deep breath and nodded. "Take off your clothes," the old woman ordered. "How?" "Completely." Emma was surprised. Completely." The old woman nodded. "Are we going to treat you?" "Or what?" Emma became embarrassed. The purpose for which she came here was worth it, and she began to slowly take off her clothes. The old woman prudently moved a chair for the removed clothes. Emma felt a little awkward under the old woman's intense gaze, but she did not want to back down, and soon the skirt, tights, and underwear were folded in a pile. "Lie down on the chest." Emma touched the skins that covered the chest, soft. Carefully, she settled her bottom on the edge of the chest and, leaning on her elbows, lay down. The chest was high but not long, so her feet did not reach the floor. "Close your eyes," the old woman commanded, "and remember, don't tell anyone what's going to happen here." Emma nodded obediently and closed her eyes. Suddenly it became dark. The light went out. The matches rustled. She struck one hard, and Emma caught a faint glimmer through her eyelids. Apparently, a candle lit up. Then Emma was almost unconscious. The old woman began to walk around, whispering incoherently and touching Emma's body with something soft. Surprisingly, everything that was happening calmed the girl down, and she relaxed. There was a soft knock on the door, the hinges creaked, and then the old woman's husband entered the room. His name was Anthony. Anthony was tall and strong. He looked around the room and saw Emma lying naked on the chest. Anthony immediately became very excited and approached Emma. Emma was lying on the chest in a state of strong euphoria. The excitement, fear, and even shame were gone. She lay completely naked in front of people. She liked being here. Somewhere deep inside, Emma suddenly felt a real excitement. "Come on, get up!" The old woman touched her hand. "Here, take this." Emma reluctantly and slowly opened her eyes and raised herself. "What is this?" "Your medicine. Drink this medicine and you will feel good," said the old woman. Emma drank the medicine, which had an intoxicating, narcotic, and exciting effect on her. Anthony approached Emma and began to caress her body with kisses. He started with her lips and then lower and lower. Anthony unzipped his fly and took out his large tool and brought his tool to her face. The next moment she turned to the old woman in amazement. "What are you afraid of?" The old woman looked at her with a frown. "Never seen a big male tool?" the old woman asked Emma. "Yes," Emma whispered. "But this is such a big tool your husband has?" Emma looked at Anthony's tool more closely and began to touch it with her gentle hands. Meanwhile, Anthony was already very excited, and suddenly Emma began to lick the tool like a sweet lollipop. "Come on, girl," Anthony said to me so nicely. "Continue." "Spread your legs and stick my tool in," Anthony continued. Emma was amazed and suddenly felt that her nascent excitement demanded exactly this. "Yes, day." The old woman stood aside and watched her husband enjoy his young body. Emma felt Anthony's big tool. She moaned loudly and leaned back. Like this," the old woman whispered. Emma lay breathing heavily in complete euphoria. The body did not obey its mistress, as if it lived on its own. The legs stretched out, the hips trembled, the hands themselves reached out to pull out and push Anthony's large tool deeper, and then again and again. She was so pleased that Anthony took possession of her body. The movement seemed more and more powerful, and then Emma felt a pulsation and relaxation. After sexual pleasures, Anthony left the room, and the old woman came up to Emma and began to say some spells. Then the old woman said to Emma, "Get dressed. You have to go." Emma, moaning, got up from the chest and, like a sleepwalker, began to get dressed. In the fresh air, Emma caught her breath a little. The old woman stood patiently nearby, waiting for the girl to finally come to her senses. "Well, have you recovered?" "Good," the old woman told her. "You'll come 2 more times." She remembered. Emma found the strength to just nod. "Don't forget not to tell anything." The old woman looked Emma sternly in the face. "And one more thing. Don't kiss your husband until you come 3 times. "Not kiss?" Emma almost moaned. "No way? You'll come 2 more times, and then you can have a baby. 2 more times." Emma closed her eyes. I understood. The whole next day turned into torture for Emma. She was so excited and wanted sex so much that she would have had it right at work with the first man she came across if she hadn't waited a little longer. Having somehow waited until evening, she rushed home, and soon they were driving to the familiar village again. And there, everything repeated itself. Emma moaned and writhed on the chest. The old woman's husband, Anthony, sexually satisfied Emma. Her body shook and arched. Her body protested and demanded more and more. "Tomorrow it will all be over," the old woman whispered. The old woman calmed Emma down while gathering her clothes. "Everything will be fine tomorrow. Be patient." Emma barely remembered how she got dressed and got home. Her husband looked at her with regret the whole way, but the girl had enough sense to calm him down. But she was unable to calm herself down. Waking up in the morning, Emma realized that she couldn't stand another day at work. She called her boss, citing illness, and asked for one day off. She hoped that today would be the end of it all. Her husband left for work, and she was left alone at home. Emma couldn't find a place for herself the whole long day. She packed and prepared the clothes she was going to wear. She put on makeup, then got dressed in advance, but it was only 10 o'clock in the morning. Her body was burning and thirsty. Emma touched herself, trying to distract herself, but the boldest caresses gave absolutely nothing. By 12 o'clock, Emma came to her senses, lying on the bed, completely naked and tormenting her chest. She jumped up, gathered her clothes, tidied herself up, but did not get dressed. She had no strength. Only after putting on her bra, she immediately took it off. In the end, Emma, naked, was lying on the bed. Literally 5 minutes before her husband arrived, she suddenly jumped up and rushed to get dressed. Her husband, not having time to insert the key into the keyhole, was almost knocked down by Emma running out onto the landing. "Let's go." Arriving in the village, the girl could hardly restrain herself from slowly following the old woman leading to the cherished door. The light came on, and Emma, having received the consent of the hostess of the house, undressed naked. A candle lit, a familiar whisper was heard, glass slammed. The old woman walked around the lying girl, slowly chanting some spells, while stirring the medicine. A potion. Soon Emma drank the medicine and again plunged into euphoria and pleasant sensations. The old hinges on the door creaked, and Anthony entered the room, but he was not alone. But with his friends, there were 4 people. "Come on!" The old woman ordered her husband Anthony and his friends. "Do your job." The men began to satisfy Emma in turn. First one, then another. Emma felt how different sizes of male tools entered her. A little later, Emma was already servicing all the men at the same time. Having finished their business, the men left the room, and the old woman approached Emma and began to chant some spells. After these spells, Emma's euphoria passed. The old woman helped Emma get dressed and then blew out the candle and nodded, inviting her to follow her. "Now everything will be fine. I see, there will be a baby. In 9 months, you and your husband will succeed." Returning home, Emma and her husband made passionate love. After 9 months, as the old woman warned, Emma had a long-awaited child, but who is his real father? Please subscribe to the channel and like it. You can also leave your comments. These actions help promote the channel on the YouTube platform and inspire me to release new sweet stories for you, my dear viewers. You can visit my YouTube channel to watch other exciting and relaxing stories.